Hello chaps, Paul Curran here. I hope you're well and all our listeners too. In the time of my confession, in the hour of my deepest need, when the pool of tears beneath my feet floods every newborn seed, there's a dying voice within me, reaching out somewhere, toiling in the danger and the morals of despair. Don't have the inclination to look back on any mistake. Like Cain, I now behold this chain of events that I must break. In the fury of the moment, I can see the Master's hand, in every leaf that trembles, in every grain of sand. Oh, the flowers of indulgence and the weeds of yesteryear, like criminals, they've choked the breath of conscience and good cheer. The sun beams down upon the steps of time to light the way, to ease the pain of idleness and the memory of decay. I gaze into the doorway of temptation's angry flame. Every time I pass that way, I always hear my name. Then onward in my journey, I come to understand that every hair is numbered, like every grain of sand. I've gone from rags to riches in the sorrow of the night, in the violence of a summer's dream, in the chill of a wintry light, in the bitter dance of loneliness fading into space, in the broken mirror of innocence on each forgotten face. I hear the ancient footsteps, like the motion of the sea. Sometimes I turn, there's someone there. Other times it's only me. I'm hanging in the balance of the reality of man, like every sparrow falling, like every grain of sand. Many listeners, I'm sure, will recognize those words as coming from the song Every Grain of Sand, written by Bob Dylan and recorded in 1981. Bob celebrated his 77th birthday last week on the 24th of May. And the 24th of May is also the date on which, in 1844, Samuel F.B. Morse transmitted the first message by Morse code, a telegraph sent along the Baltimore-Washington line. And the words which he used for the first message were chosen by the daughter of a friend. Her name was Annie Elworth, and quite prophetically, perhaps, they were these: "What hath God wrought?" They were taken from the Old Testament, Numbers 23:23. In my first collection of poems, his only sonnet, I wrote a sonnet called "What Hath God Wrought?", the sentiments of which aren't dissimilar to those that we've just heard from Dylan, questioning why it is that life can at times be so demanding. It goes as follows. Been asking earnestly, what hath God wrought? Why things are as they are? Why here? Why now? Why pain? Why villains don't get what they ought? Why tragedy, hate, anguish here below? Unless, at best, manifest, these tests show life, for all our laws, is a house of cards. Ask old Ernest from me, what does God know of temptation and guilt? In this regard, by him is life purposely made so hard? Does he consciously cause, then crush our hope, hiding from us faith's full final reward with faint, foggy signs that force us to cope? Stuck record repeats the same old refrain, the Lord's Prayer, misting in the red rain. The 24th of May was also Queen Victoria's birthday, and Empire Day was celebrated on that date for many a year. I was told this by a friend, Nicholas, whose birthday is also on the 24th of May. Many happy returns, Nicholas. Someone who was writing at the time of Queen Victoria and remained unpublished throughout her lifetime was the reclusive, prolific Emily Dickinson. From her home in Amherst, Massachusetts, she produced 1,800 poems, many of which were ornately decorated and bound in volumes by her to be found after her death. The storm, which passed over Warwickshire and other parts of the country in a few nights ago, reminded me of a poem of Dickinson's which I'd encountered, wherein she tells of a shipwreck which has been brought about because of a storm. This is Shipwreck by Emily Dickinson. Glee! The great storm is over. 4 have recovered the land. 40 gone down together into the boiling sand. Ring for the scant salvation, toll for the bonny souls, neighbour and friend and bridegroom, spinning upon the shoals. How they will tell the shipwreck when winter shakes the door, till the children ask, but the 40, did they come back no more? Then a silence suffuses the story, and a softness the teller's eye, and the children no further question, and only the waves reply. You'll recall that last week I was in Devon, a county much loved by Ted Hughes. To finish this week, I'm going to read two poems which deal with the same subject, though they are very different in style and tone. That subject is a peregrine falcon, or a hawk, and the first of the two poems is called Hawk Roosting by Ted Hughes, who lived between 1930 and 1998, holding the title of Poet Laureate for the last 14 years of his life. When Hughes was asked to be Poet Laureate in 1984, the position was then one that was held throughout one's life. It subsequently changed. Anyway, here we are, Hawk Roosting by Ted Hughes. I sit in the top of the wood, my eyes closed, inaction, no falsifying dream between my hooked head and hooked feet. Or in sleep, rehearse perfect kills and eat. The convenience of the high trees, the air's buoyancy and the sun's ray are of advantage to me, and the earth's face upward for my inspection. My feet are locked upon the rough bark. It took the whole of creation to produce my foot, my each feather. Now I hold creation in my foot, or fly up and revolve it all slowly. I kill where I please, because it's all mine. There's no sophistry in my body. My manners are tearing off heads, the allotment of death. For the one path of my flight is direct through the bones of the living. No arguments assert my right. The sun is behind me. Nothing has changed since I began. My eye has permitted no change. I'm going to keep things like this. The final poem today, which many listeners I'm sure will have guessed already, is The Windhover by Gerard Manley Hopkins. Hopkins, who lived from 1844, the year of the first Morse code message, until 1889, was also unpublished in his lifetime. His friend Robert Bridges was responsible for bringing to our attention the wonderful, intricate work of Hopkins. Hopkins was fascinated by internal rhythms, inscape as he called it, and his language is quite complex. In this sonnet, he compares even the sparks that flash as a plough goes through the earth. Even they contain the wonder and mystery of God's creation. He comes to this conclusion having first encountered a peregrine falcon above him as he's out walking one morning. This is The Windhover by Gerard Manley Hopkins. I caught this morning morning's minion, kingdom of daylight's dauphin, dapple, dawn-drawn falcon, in his riding of the rolling level underneath him steady air, and striding high there, how he rung upon the rein of a wimpling wing in his ecstasy. Then off forth on swing, as a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend, the hurl and gliding rebuffed the big wind. My heart in hiding stirred for a bird, the achieve of, the mastery of the thing. Brute beauty and valour and act o'er pride plume here buckle, and the fire that breaks from thee then, a billion times told lovelier, more dangerous, oh, my chevalier! No wonder of it. Sheer plod makes plough down Sicilian shine, and blue bleak embers, ah, my dear, fall, gall themselves, and gash gold vermilion.